The rules are the same. Each speaker has 15 minutes or less, if you wish. And the first speaker's speech is conceptualizing disaster risks and heritage vulnerability issues in the context of the urban policies for climate change, resilience of historic cities. And please welcome Elena Dimitrova from Bulgaria.
Going there because I need to see you. Good morning and welcome. Very nice to see you here in Kuldīga. I will try to use the 15 minutes I was given to provide here a brief overview of documents, of global documents, and how they developed within a period of 40 years. Because what we usually mention is that there are so many documents. Do we need the next one? Do we need a new one? What else should be said? Do we need science? Do we need research? Or we just need to be practical, to be pragmatic, to work on the ground, and that's it. So I tried to go through the documents with the idea that actually behind all these documents there is a human effort. There are people who have been devoted to the ideas we deal with and that have been doing something they believe is important. So this is the point of view I will try to present here. It's a bit longer, but I'll try to keep the 15 minutes I promised already. It is a working document. There are many things probably missing there, don't be too critical. Here is a kind of a timeline which traces the process on both sides. On one side are the policy documents on culture and cultural heritage related to disaster risk management and climate change adaptation for increasing urban resilience. This is generally broadly our field. And then here are the policy documents, the broader policy documents at the global level, which deal with disaster risk management, climate change, urban resilience, and surely sustainable development. Starting from Washington Charter in 1987, we could discover that actually historic cities are mentioned there as needing protection against natural disasters and the need to safeguard heritage for the security and well-being of residents. It's a people-centered document. And then later on, this being developed by the Latter principles about protection from the effects of climate change. On the other side, almost at the same moment, there was an important body established by the United Nations, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which was created to provide policymakers with regular scientific assessments on climate change, its implications, and potential future risks. So it is about providing practice with the results of research. It is almost the same period, and then there were events which were very important. I didn't put it here, but it was about the Rio Summit in 1992, and behind this there was a long process, a 5-year-long process, which was about preparing the document, Agenda 21, the big document, saying and then being agreed upon with all these problems. And here is just to mention some very important efforts, how higher education responded to the call for action, and it is the first, one of the first UNESCO chairs on cultural heritage and risk management in Japan. I know that some people here know more than me about this. 20 years of active program, which has been recently closed, but they continue to collaborate with ICOM and various international and national institutions. So there is an international symposium expected next year to summarize efforts and to go on. You could see that there is a very long-term process behind this. Then we come to another important document when we all know, which was about managing disaster risk for cultural heritage. The year is 2010. And it says that disaster risks constitute the most urgent priority that heritage managers should address. It was 2010, so it was 15 years ago. We're not facing now anything new. So some quotes of this document. Experience shows that heritage, if well maintained, can positively contribute to reducing disaster risk. And it is then explaining how the proper functioning of ecosystems and the beneficial effect of their goods and services. It's about cities, and then about how traditional knowledge could be used, accumulated over centuries to increase resilience. 2010, a fundamental document. Then in the year 2015, the period 2015-2016 was very important one at the global level, because there was a very intensive effort to synchronize, to integrate all the knowledge already accumulated and to build upon what is already created. So this is the Sendai framework for disaster risk management. And yes, being the first major global agreement in this agenda, which is in this, provided in this moment, it is about reducing disaster risk and losses with four priorities, for action: understanding risk, strengthening governance, investing in resilience, and enhancing preparedness. And here they say that the states have the primary role, but responsibility should be shared as broadly as possible, as you could see the stakeholders mentioned there. The year 2015 was also the year when the UN Agenda for Sustainable Development 2030 was adopted. We have spoken a lot about it. I will mention several things. And one document which is not usually mentioned, but it is very important, the Addis Ababa Action Agenda, which dealt with all sources of finance, technology, innovation, trade, debt, and data to support this achievement. So this has been acknowledged even there, that it is important to provide funding. Yes, we have many times focused attention on SDG 11. I will not repeat the things that you know, the mentioning of cultural heritage, but probably few of you have realized what is mentioned in Target 11.5. It is reduce the adverse effect of natural disasters in this same goal. And then 11.9, implement policies for inclusion, resource efficiency, and disaster risk reduction, holistic disaster risk management at all levels in line with the Sendai framework. So it is about integrating efforts already in these documents. I'm skipping this. And then we go to Habitat 3. That's a mistake there. Habitat 3 conference in Quito in 2016. It was a very fast reaction to the more general frame. And there, as we know, the very important document was the new urban agenda was adopted. 30,000 participants from 167 countries with online platforms which enabled many more people to attend this. What's said there is promoting a new model of urban development that is able to integrate all facets of sustainable development, can promote equity, welfare, and shared prosperity. This is Dr. Juan Clos. And then several quotes of this document. We have reached a critical point in understanding that cities can be the resource of solutions to, rather than the cause of, the challenges that our world is facing today. So it is about a paradigm shift based on the science of cities, and it lays out standards and principles for the planning, construction, development, management, and so on. Historic cities are part of this They are just one of the elements, very important element, but they are there. Quito Declaration on Sustainable Cities and Human Settlements said several things. It acknowledges that culture and cultural diversity are sources of enrichment for humankind, and it is committed to adopt and implement disaster risk reduction and management, reduce vulnerability, build resilience and responsiveness to natural and human-made hazards. And then the implementation plan is more detailed, and it declares commitment to supporting moving from reactive to a more proactive, risk-based, all hazards and all society approaches. There is a lot of things to say here and a lot of reasons to think about this. And then saying, again, we will support the leveraging of cultural heritage and the importance of engaging indigenous people and local communities. This is a well-known document for our community about sustainable development. And then several things in the following years where ICOMOS was really very active in entering the stage and trying to contribute with its specific expertise in the field on the relationship between heritage, climate action, and resilience, not going to all the details. A very important moment here is the establishment of two working groups, several working groups, but two of them are important. They are about working in the field of sustainable development goals and specific roles of cultural heritage. It is again acknowledged that it is the greatest challenge, climate change, to sustainable development, and then this goes to action. So the Climate Heritage Network adopted an action plan for the year 2022-24. And we go back to Sendai framework because there is a midterm review published in May 2023, saying that the risk landscape has changed since the adoption of the framework and mentioning the adverse impacts of climate change. So what here is said is very important: capacity building of communities, incorporation of local, traditional, and indigenous knowledge in planning, and evidence-based programming deemed essential steps to be taken. And then climate action. I will mention just several things here because it is important to see what ICOMOS has been doing to meet the challenges and to fulfill this guidance which has been already given. This is an action which is in partnership with the National Geographical Society, Preserving Legacies, a Future for Our Past, this same program. We are on a mission to safeguard the world's tapestry of cultural places and practices from the impacts of climate change. So, yes, there is the statistics, not going to this. It's about 40 site custodians in over 20 countries have been trained to assess vulnerabilities and develop adaptation plans. You could easily find these things. There is a lot of information available, accessible to everybody to share knowledge and to share what has been done and what is to be done. Two of these projects, one in Petra and the other is in the Philippines, dealing with particular issues on site and working with local stakeholders, with local actors to be able to improve the situation. And then again, going back to what is important, because when working on site, it is important to be able to conceptualize what is happening and what is to be done. So these are methodological schemes trying to explain, trying to integrate different aspects of what is going on. I'll show one more. I'm not going to explain these things, but it is about conceptualizing risk to heritage places and be able to trace how different events have their effect on what is going on and what should be undertaken. ICROM, the disaster risk management program, And then the strategic goals for the future. I skip this because I have 2 minutes. And then the abundant set of information which is being made accessible and being updated regularly. So it is a very dynamic field. It needs high expert knowledge, so it needs to spread this knowledge in some way. And 2 forthcoming events I would surely mention, because these are important, because we are not at the end of the process. We are just moving with the process which is evolving. One thing is this very important conference, Mondia CUT, which is taking place in September in Barcelona, and it is a major event, actually, which is striving to prove the need for putting culture on the agenda. ICOMOS is involved in this, not just involved. ICOMOS was, and the SDG working group in particular was active in this. So we from ICOMOS are there, present on the stage with a side event, which is called Living Heritage, Living the Heritage. It is community voices for rethinking approaches and shifting systems. And there is another thing coming again from this same sequence of events, is this intergovernmental panel on climate change, which is expected in 2006, with dealing again with the scientific aspect of the processes. Several things to say. I have come to the end, I suppose, of my time. So climate change and challenges of disaster risk management. The review outlines a visible evolution from rather fragmentary to more holistic approaches, acknowledging the complexity and integrity of challenges, and within a framework aligning disasters, climate change, sustainable development. And this sense of urgency is very important to note here. International organizations such as UNESCO, ICROM, ICOMOS are important actors in the process, among many others. They have been actively involved for decades in the effort to integrate cultural heritage considerations into the broader process at all levels. Estimated gaps in the going effort for the adoption and practical implementation still refer to capacity building at the local level and synchronizing local knowledge and skills with highly specialized innovative technologies and skills. Developing a shared set of priorities, sensitivity to the local context, and efficient communication channels at all levels needs a shared sensitivity for the cultural dimensions of human development. Thank you.
Thank you very much for giving us a thread through all these complicated documentations of this area. I would like to invite the next speaker for the speech of disaster mitigation issues in historic areas within the framework of urban planning and conservation. Nuren Zerene Gluseroy.
Yes, almost.
From Istanbul.
Yes, from Istanbul. From Turkey. Thank you. Good morning, dear colleague. The title of my presentation is Disaster Mitigation Issues in Historic Areas within the Framework of Urban Planning and Conservation. Okay, thank you. As we all know, disaster risk mitigation in urban planning, urban design, and conservation practices is of critical importance for historic cities, towns, and villages. Considering the disaster cycle as a continuous process, the integration of risk mitigation strategies into planning and conservation practices is essential. In historic urban areas, disasters often result in more severe consequences than in the past because of population growth, inadequate planning, deficiencies in architectural design and construction, misinformation among residents, insufficient legislation and financial resources, the lack of trained personnel, limited political commitment, inappropriate land uses, and rising property levels. Since the beginning of this century, studies on mitigating disaster effect, especially earthquake damage, were limited to the practices of engineering, especially civil engineering experts on the subject. Studies on disasters have hardly been included in urban planners and architects' planning, conservation, and design works, or on the agenda of central and local governments, universities, the public, non-governmental organization, and the media. This presentation addresses risks, vulnerability, and mitigation issues in historic settlements within the framework of urban planning and conservation, highlighting the responsibilities of planners, architects, and conservation practitioners in anticipating, preparing for, responding to, and recovering from disasters. Main titles will be Disaster Mitigation Principles, Disaster Mitigation-Based Planning and Conservation Process, Disaster Mitigation Issues at the urban design level. I must apologize for my voice. 3 weeks ago, I had an operation because my voice is not well. Sorry for that. Thank you. And disaster mitigation issues in historic areas within the framework of urban planning and conservation can be explained in 3 steps. First, evaluation of natural and cultural historical data, conducting a comprehensive assessment of environmental conditions, infrastructure, and period planning and conservation decisions that influence the development of historic areas after disaster. And the second issue is identifying population needs, analyzing affected populations' demographic and socioeconomic characteristics to establish appropriate standards for earthquake-resistant residential areas. And the third issue is resource allocation and management. And coming to the disaster mitigation principles, urban planning and conservation for disaster mitigation should adhere to the following principles. I collected it from different resources. A holistic approach should be adopted for all possible disasters in the historic area. A well-coordinated strategy is essential, as multiple simultaneous hazards can amplify risks. And a coordinated and organized interdisciplinary study is required. This is another principle. Given the complexity of disasters, a multidisciplinary approach is necessary. Experts from different disciplines should collaborate to integrate social and physical aspects in the disaster mitigation strategy. Of course, a detailed analysis of both the physical and social structure of historical urban fabric should be made. Physical analysis is very important in historical urban fabric. Conduct a parcel-based assessment of historic and other buildings and a detailed block-level study of usage densities at different times of the day. And social structure analysis, of course, is very necessary in historical urban tissues. Examine the community's demographic composition, considering potential heterogeneity. And getting the opinions of local residents and determining their needs through participation increases success. Involving residents in the planning process enhances the plan's applicability and reliability by addressing their needs and concerns. Education of communities about disaster preparedness is essential. All age groups of society should be educated on disaster preparedness. Possible losses should be estimated. Provide quantitative data on properties and individuals at risk. Cost analysis also should be conducted. Opportunities for economic empowerment should be created. Utilize tools to create opportunities for residents, fostering economic resilience. Social empowerment measures should be taken. There should be, of course, legal tools for the urban planning and conservation process. Incorporate all relevant legal aspects to facilitate the effectiveness implementation of planning measures. The actions of local and central government must be consistent. Effective urban planning and conservation requires parallel and coherent decision-making across different levels of government to ensure a unified local approach. Yes, hazardous uses should be identified through detailed analysis, and priority should be given to lifeline structures. Key facilities such as schools, hospitals, security buildings should be prioritized. Additionally, urban settlement centers should be cleared of facilities that store or operate explosive, combustible, or toxic materials. Homogeneity and uniformity are important to share order in this structure. Necessary measures must be taken to prevent chain disasters. Industries and commercial activities that pose secondary hazards should be restricted in highly populated areas. A distributed risk approach should be adopted in planning studies. Critical structures such as administrative offices and community centers should be strategically dispersed throughout the city to minimize the risk of total loss and enhance post-disaster functionality. High-risk areas should not be left unused. Leaving high-risk zones unused may encourage the formation of illegal structures. Controlled use density should be determined. Controlled accessibility should be ensured. Strengthened infrastructure facilities should be determined. Organized evacuation areas should be established. Yes, I tried to summarize the main issues. Now, I would like to propose a disaster mitigation-based planning and conservation process. A disaster mitigation-based planning and conservation process is a structured approach to reducing risks and minimizing the impact of natural or human-made disaster. The process involves identifying potential hazards, assessing vulnerabilities, and implementing proactive strategies to enhance resilience. Vulnerability analysis evaluates how exposed population, infrastructure, and ecosystems are to these hazards. By integrating disaster mitigation into urban planning and policy making, communities can enhance their ability to withstand and recover from disasters more actively. An effective planning process ensures a more precise problem definition and a more comprehensive analysis, ultimately reinforcing the role and responsibilities of the Hazard Mitigation Committee. Here we can follow the steps defined to enhance the effectiveness of this process. First, establish a hazard mitigation organization committee. And the second step, preliminary analysis, data gathering, and define the problem. And the third step, conduct a hazard assessment study. And next step, detailed analysis and synthesis for hazard mitigation studies, and then prepare a plan, and the last step, implement the plan and monitoring and recycling. Yes, the first step is to form a committee that includes representatives from higher level government with expertise in hazard mitigation, and representatives from all groups. And the second step, preliminary analysis, data gathering. In each area, issues should be defined based on local data. Problems should be categorized as simple, complex, or a combination to establish priorities. Okay. A precise definition of the problem will facilitate the planning process and contribute to successful implementation. And step 3, conduct a hazard assessment study. The third step involves identifying and analyzing hazards that threaten the community and their potential effects. And the step 5, prepare a plan, description of this is the important step, of course. Description of the plan objectives, discuss the issues, problems, unique features and values, specify the areas covered by the plan, and the other steps written here. And the sixth and last step, implement the plan and monitoring. And there are also some issues related to urban design level. Urban design process include constraints, limitations guiding architectural design, and significant decision guiding environmental design. These constraints may be related to the land use, density regulation, transportation, and infrastructure decision. The three main aspects of mitigation efforts at the urban design level are the relative location of buildings, their form, and the design of urban open spaces. Location also plays a critical role in the facility or evacuation and rescue operation. And building with regular shapes such as L, T, H, U, or Y configuration should be avoided as they tend to vibrate in complex patterns during earthquakes, making them structurally weaker. There are some other urban design issues. Coming to the conclusion, uncontrolled urban growth and illegal settlements exacerbate the impact of disasters at the settlement level. Mitigating effects requires coordinated and multidisciplinary efforts, analyzing natural and human-made data, and informed policy decisions are crucial in planning and implementing post-disaster settlements. Ensuring earthquake victims have safe and safe access to temporary and permanent housing is essential for restoring normalcy. This issue remains a priority in planning, conservation, and design studies. Urban planning, urban design as a conclusion. Urban planning, urban design, and architecture are key disciplines in reducing disaster-related losses through tools such as zoning regulations, implementation plans, and design projects. Strategically adopting these tools can minimize disaster risks at the settlement level. Urban scale mitigation efforts complement structural level disaster preparedness, ultimately contributing to safer, more resilient historic cities. And here are some references. Thank you.
Thank you very much for showing these precise steps for mitigation issues. Could you please stay at the front so that we can ask you questions later? And the last speech for this morning's session will be excessive construction and our tourism to active threats to the resilience of the environment and cultural heritage, by Sofia Kolonis, Emeritus Professor from Greece. Please, welcome.
Thank you, Teresa. Thank you very much, CIVVIH, ICOMOS Latvia, and the organizing scientific committee of this meeting. The topic is very important and very necessary to discuss it, I think. I think that we are in an era of geopolitical conflicts that are very strong, especially in this region. But at the same time, we are also experiencing terrible natural disasters caused by the climate change catastrophe that humanity is experiencing in this era. My presentation concerns the threats posed by excessive construction and tourism to the resilience of cultural and natural landscapes. I will present some representative cases from Greece because we need to know the mechanism that produced all this situation. I think that it is important in order to propose a method and measures for the resolution of this situation. I will close my presentation with some thoughts, certainly concerning the Hellenic, the Greek case, but I think that they have a general interest. So, addressing climate change and its impacts on both tangible and intangible cultural heritage is a complex, multifactorial issue. In recent years, Greece has experienced significant disasters, such as last year's devastating floods in the Thessaly region and several Aegean islands, followed by the periods of intense heat and fires. Thus, confronting climate change requires a concerted effort. In Greece, beyond natural phenomena, anthropogenic factors must also be tackled, as they contribute to the deterioration of both natural and cultural environment, thereby exacerbating the climate crisis. A prime example is most important is the excessive expansion of real estate activity and the resulting excessive construction, which disappeared across the country, including historic cities, rural settlements, and island regions, but especially concentrated in areas of tourism interest. So, Greece has experienced rapid tourism growth since the 60s. Following the prolonged financial crisis and the COVID pandemic, the country has observed a strong rebound in international tourism, largely driven by demand for holiday destinations on the Greek islands. According to the Bank of Greece, in 2024, the country hosted 40 million international visitors, reflecting a 13% increase compared to 2023. This corresponds to a ratio of approximately 4 tourists per resident per inhabitant, comparable to high tourism countries such as Spain. However, the distribution of tourism is highly uneven, placing disproportionate pressure on islands and certain urban areas and centers, particularly in Athens. This phenomenon, often referred to as over-tourism, represents a multidimensional issue and a clear indicator of excessive strain on infrastructure. Natural and built environments and local communities transform into tourist destinations. Over-tourism is characterized by the exceeding of destination carrying capacity, measurable through 3 primary indicators: the number of visitors, the construction intensity, including tourist accommodations, holiday homes, and supporting infrastructure. Pressure exerted on sensitive natural and cultural resources, such as water, land, protected areas, and traditional historical settlements and cities. Recent tourism growth has been supported by large-scale strategic investments, disproportionate expansion of the real estate sector, and excessive construction. Collectively, these trends exert significant pressure on historical cities and historical rural and insular settlements, undermining environmental and cultural resilience while exacerbating climate-related risks. The prevailing tourism model, based on mass arrivals, sun-sea and all-inclusive packages, and unregulated short-term rentals, is no longer sustainable. Its consequences extend beyond financial concerns, contributing to environmental degradation, resource depletion, and irreversible impacts on vulnerable island ecosystems, particularly. Mechanisms underlying environmental and cultural pressures is essential to formulate proposal of remedies. Okay, we have, I will present you some cases concerning some causes, some mechanisms. First, the transformation of traditional land uses for tourism, accelerated cementification of coastal zones, tourist excessive construction, water scarcity, and socio-economic impacts. We have some problem with anyway, but I will continue. The first, this is not, the PowerPoint is, has lost the format anyway. Speaking about the transformation of traditional land use for tourism, the research of the University of the Aegean documents a dramatic reduction in agricultural production and hosted cover across the Aegean Islands, accompanied by an expansion of built surfaces. Between 1961 and 2010, approximately 14 hectares of forest were lost, while agriculture and livestock production declined up to 50%. In several islands, the primary sector, the agriculture, has fishery and other, has been virtually abandoned, leaving tourism as the dominant economic activity. Another mechanism is the accelerated cementification of coastal zones. This map shows how beaches and coastal areas are increasingly privatized through the construction of beach bars and hotel complexes. Studies by the University of Thessaly, corroborated by Copernicus satellite imagery, indicate extensive and previous surfaces close to major urban centers, Attica, for instance, Achaia, Thessaloniki, Magnesia, and along coastal tourist regions, especially in the islands, and the Ionian Islands too, Dodecanese too, and Crete, of course. You see the red sign. Cementification disrupts natural sedimentary processes, accelerates coastal erosion, damages coastal ecosystems, and increases energy and infrastructure demands, thereby contributing directly to climate change. But we will present you some cases concerning the tourist excessive construction, unregulated development of urban plan construction, and speculative real estate investments have led to reversible alteration of natural and cultural landscapes. Large-scale tourist complexes are increasingly constructed outside urban planning boundaries, often supported by special urban planning legislation enacted during the financial crisis decade. Strategic investments favor private investor interests over public spatial planning, compromising the integrity of sensitive landscapes. As a result, large tracts of land are allocated based on the choices of private investors rather than public spatial and urban planning. I will present you the cases of two islands that demonstrate this situation. Milos, a Cycladic volcanic island with 5,300 people, known historically from its Venus. It is an island that has been inhabited since prehistoric times and possesses a rich cultural heritage spanning all eras. Its unique landscapes are shaped by its geological history and significant mineral wealth. Almost the entire western part of the island belongs to the European network Natura 2000. Starting in 2022, Milos experienced rapid tourism growth, sudden rapid tourist growth. And nowadays, while the island hosts 43 hotels with 1,700 beds, approved construction plans foresee the addition of 48 hotels, increasing infrastructure and 2,600 beds they added. Of particular concern are developments threatening the Milos urban fabric. Abundant flora, herbs, wildflowers, and endangered species, as well as unprotected site, such is the case of Sarakiniko, a unique landmark with white volcanic rocks formed 23 million years ago. And although, as you can see, a permit was issued for the construction of a 5-star White Coast hotel in this place, and this is the plan. And fortunately, this project is cancelled thanks to protest by the municipality and the environmental organization, but the irreversible destruction already caused remains. A second case is the island of Ios with 2,200 people that has witnessed large-scale land acquisition by tourism companies covering approximately 1/3 of the island. Approved developments include integrated resorts and holiday residences, some of which have faced legal challenges like this, while others proceed under revised plans before the completion of local plan, urban plan. Other mechanism is the water scarcity in the Aegean Islands, that it is a long-standing and particularly serious problem, and that affects the daily lives of thousands of residents, agricultural production, public health, and of course tourism. It also affects and affected by tourism. Rapid tourist development and extensive construction activity cause high water consumption. This is accompanied by a significant increase in private and hotel swimming pools, further burdening islands that are already struggling to meet their needs. According to data collected by the local organization CIVVIH, the number of swimming pools is estimated, as you can see in the plan, at least 1,200. Appropriate infrastructure is required, and public water management must be supported. There must be restrictions and strict specification for tourist infrastructure. Swimming pools in areas with limited water resources must be subject to control. Swimming pools in areas with limited water resources must be subject to control. The waste management. In summer, due to over-tourism, waste volumes quadruple, while the limited infrastructure is inadequate and recycling is not implemented. On some islands without sanitary landfills, waste is transported by sea to other islands. It is urgent to create a unified, broader waste management system. Finally, we have some socioeconomic impacts. Seasonal tourism employment undermines labor stability and erodes social cohesion, while the influx of digital nomads and tourists contributes to resident displacement. Greek tourism relies on hundreds of thousands of seasonal workers, the seasonists, whose rights and dignity are often undermined under the pressure of the season. Winter then brings sudden unemployment, uncertainty, and limited opportunities for long-term life planning. The result is the creation of critical social conditions. Collectively, these factors demonstrate a systematic exceedance of destination carrying capacity, driven by misguided perception of development and lack of spatial and economic planning, posing severe threats to sustainable development, cultural heritage preservation, and environmental resilience. A strategic framework for spatial and financial planning is imperative to safeguard natural and cultural assets. During the period of economic crisis, and particularly after pandemic, Greece has produced an extensive body of legislation. However, Greece's legislative framework remains insufficiently aligned with the international directions, and especially the Agenda 2030. Current challenges stemming from interlinked climate, health, social, and economic crises necessitate comprehensive policy responses. Critical issues remain as contradiction regarding out-of-plan construction, delays in the implementation of local plans, and broader spatial planning as a whole, and finally, expansion and consolidation of ad hoc planning practices. A national strategy for the development of Greek territory is needed, and it should include a participatory, evidence-based spatial planning framework encompassing all productive sectors, alignment with sustainable development principles, prioritizing quality over quantity, environmental protection, cultural heritage preservation, and technological innovation, and elimination of out-plan construction, which undermines rural productive activities and landscape integrity. Development of a national strategy for quality tourism, emphasizing strategic planning and environmental carrying capacity. The strategy should establish a spatial guide for investment and economic planning that harmonizes with international, European, and national frameworks, categorically recognizes and safeguards land uses, applying environmental carrying capacity as a policy criterion, and finally, prevents uncontrolled development of tourism complexes, both within and beyond urban boundaries. Thank you. And excuse me for the presentation.
Thank you so much about sharing this important experience and dangers that you're facing right now. So I please invite all the speakers take seats in the front, and moderators take seats also in the front, but here. And I'll give the floor to you.
Yes, hello everybody. And at first, I would like really to thank three professors. It was really the pleasure and an honor to listen to your rich experience. Yes, but I listened to you, and all this time, one phrase from the global movement was in my mind, and it was that nature has no disasters. All disasters are created by human-caused. And yes, we saw in your presentations that from doctrinal documents till the planning activities, planning strategies and policies, all disaster risk management processes starts with risk assessment. How important is to identify threats and understand the context. How important and courageous also to name the vulnerabilities, and then starts risk mitigation. And my question will be in two parts. I apologize for that. And the first question is, when we talking about risk mitigation, is it always possible? Can we always find a way to mitigate or reduce risks? And if not, in this case, which are the best strategies for the heritage? It's one part. And the other part, how you see the role of community and also local actors, but community in disaster risk management, in historic environment, and especially in identifying the risks, role of community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for this two-part question. I believe that disasters are not only result of human activity. We shouldn't feel guilty about everything that is happening, but it is absolutely a human responsibility to be able to conceptualize risks. And the only way to me to mitigate risks is to work on vulnerability. And this is the only way to, not to remove risks for sure, but to do our best in providing a chance for our heritage, providing a chance for our for humankind to survive. And this requires responsibility on all levels. And then I go to these local communities. We also mentioned it has become a mantra. It's always the local community that decides. It's always the local community that knows best what to do. We have to be aware of, up to my experience and what I have seen and probably understood, if not misunderstood, today's communities are very complex entities, and we have to be aware that it is a dynamic subject. So they surely have to be taken into consideration. They should be responsible actors on the stage, but we need to build capacity for understanding what community wants, what community does, and the community is not given once and forever, and culture is not given once and forever, for sure. We have some very idealistic idea about what traditional culture is and how we should keep it, but that's not the case. And we have to be able to be flexible and to be sensitive and respectful. And to me, ethics lies at the basis of this whole process of understanding, mobilizing, and then doing whatever we do, and then assessing the impact and being able to, yes, to have the courage to say we have failed or we have not done enough yet. Thank you.
Thank you for your questions. But I don't think all disasters created by human. Yes, some of them, I agree with you, but as a human, I cannot prevent the earthquake. Climate change may be created by human or other man-made disasters. But we can reduce the risk. I think it's the important point, and I tried to explain with my presentation. The important tool is the planning for us as an architect and urban planner. I tried to explain interdisciplinary collaboration, holistic approach, but not the classical planning, not the ordinary planning or plans. We should create maybe develop new type of planning, and architects also has an important role to reduce the risk. Not only, of course, it's an interdisciplinary subject and approach. And what is the second question? The role of community, yes. The important thing here is the education. I also tried to explain during my presentation, all ages should be educated, not only the active population, even old people or young people, 3 or 4 years should be educated against maybe climate change is important for the next generation. We start primary school and educate the whole ages. Planning also.
I would like to thank you for the question, as also my colleagues Elena and Julen for their opinions about this question. It is very interesting to say that we have a lot of principles because the knowledge about this kind of risk is quite advanced now, and there is also an international discussion, as Elena presented to us, in a high level and between scientific organizations and interested people is advanced also. And also the planning system, as my colleague presented already, is very important, and we as scientists, as the people who knows the method, and we have the measures, the proposals to be implemented, our role is very important, and also as ICOMOS family, and especially CIVVIH colleagues, we are very responsible to inform and provoke the sensibility of inhabitants, the communities, the local communities, that has to be informed about the situation, and that has to participate in the discussion about the risks. As I have demonstrated, the role of community is very important. In the case of Aegean Islands, the role of local communities is very important. And thanks to their activity and their protest, this project, this awful project, some of them, not all, are stopped. But there are many consequences that remain, as I have demonstrated in the case of Sarakinico and Milos, and some other islands too. So the role of the local community and the bottom-up planification of the case is very important. So we need to have, in the high-level organization, guides, plans, national and local, but on the other hand, we have to develop the bottom-up reflection and activity on all these things. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, and thank you also for reacting to my first phrase. It's not created by me, it's global movement. Nature has no disasters. Yeah, it's global movement, and always reflected on that, because the philosophy is that the nature, it's normal activity of nature, also earthquakes, it's normal activity of organism of planet, but people are settled near to these places, and it's why risk mitigation and risks are so important, and to understand the context where our historic environment is. Thank you so much for your answers.
Thank you, Elena, thank you, Nuran, thank you, Sofia, for your presentation. I have two questions, maybe very academic, I don't know. First question, Elena, you present that since 40 years we had documents and charters and recommendation to prevent disasters. And till now, we realize that it is not enough. It's not enough, so the idea of your presentation suppose that we have to change paradigm in this way to recommendation, maybe. I don't know, we have, maybe in 2026 we will have some recommendation turning out our things, I don't know. Sorry, and second question, it's Sofia, and third one for Nuran. Sofia, your presentation is very valuable to understand living cities and what will happen to inhabitants in these islands. I can give example in Iran, you know, in the island in Iran are now nobody in this island. And if we arrive to have recommendation by changing paradigm, do you think that it is reversible, what happened in Greece island, and how local community will participate to mitigate what happened? Is it realized? It's something, can we have orientation on this way to think? And the third question, it's about the prevention program. Prevention program, it's not only realized by architect. And I can give the France example. It's about programming the city, and then the architects can give technical solution for this. So, and sometimes I can give you an example because you mentioned explosion and risk, and I lived the period of blast of port of Beirut. There was no plan, no prevention plan, but I have discussion with the major who was on site. He said that no way to save people in this situation, even if you have a plan. So what do you think about this? Thank you. It was so long, thank you.
I started. First question, I will forget the question. Oh.
No. It is enough, and we have to change paradigm.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for mentioning paradigms. It's very, very important. I would start by mentioning this disaster concept from the previous question. I agree that the dinosaurs didn't know they are undergoing a disaster. They just died there, and that was it. It is human that believe that they understand what a disaster is, and it is about survival of humanity. It's human-centered concept. I would say that in a way, we have come to a critical moment, and if we speak about changing paradigms, we need to answer a very fundamental question. What is our rationale for to continue to exist on the face of the earth? We should have a task to fulfill, and we have to formulate why are we needed on earth. And this is the needed paradigm. I wouldn't put too much, as I said, too much guilt on humanity, on people. Yes, a lot of mistakes, a lot of awful things being done. But 40 years is not such a long period for changing the mindset of such a huge, living, self-organizing system, if we go to systems theory. So 40 years is the initial period, and we should be more tolerant to these efforts. I think we have gone a long way. Yes, it's not a perfect situation, but it's not about giving up because 40 years were not enough. Well, we don't know how many years we have because it is this sense of urgency, because of irreversible changes. But we have to be doing our best every day, and that's what we try to do. So I'm an optimist beyond everything which is going on, and I do believe that even today we have to do something. And yes, think about formulating our own aim, where we are heading, and why it is important to do things. And it is about culture in its broadest sense, just realizing what our place is within a broader system existing, and what our reason for being is. So that's enough, I think, for the next 40 years.
Let's stay
or
optimistic.
400, if we have them.
Thank you. Thank you.
I will reply directly to the question of Hannah.
The question is
And
about
I don't
reversible,
like to
irreversible.
repeat that Elena has said already. So, as I told already, the role of local communities is very important. And following the experiences of Cyclades and not only islands of Greece, because as you know, Greece is a Polynesian state. So we have many islands and very long coast sites. So the role of local communities is very important, but it is about a struggle. The people protest, but it depends from the decision of the organization of decision, the governance, the local governance, the region, the governance of the region, and so on. So we have to make the decision makers to understand the opinion of the local communities. And on the other hand, the local community has to struggle and has to be conscient of their situation. Because we have in Greece 2 islands that are very touristic. I couldn't speak for all the cases. On the other hand, we have the case of Mykonos. All the people know Mykonos. It is an over-tourism, but also a very difficult situation because the local community likes to continue this situation and don't like to have a local urban plan with some rules and limitations and disciplines about the development of the island. On the other hand, and my colleague Eleni can speak to you also, not only me, is the case of Santorini, Thera. It is another very touristic island that suffered some months before by earthquakes. And as it is a volcano, all the people was very anxious about the future of this island. The people there is conscient. They know that the situation cannot be continued like this. So they need and demand a plan, urban local plan, with proposals, limits, zones, as my friend Nuren already said, and so on. So it depends. It depends, but we as ICOMOS and CIVVIH members, we have to inform the local communities, and of course the education is very important, and this principle was already in the Charter of Venice, in the Washington Charter, Valletta Principles, and shall continue to be in the next document of ours. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sofia.
If I'm not wrong, you asked me something related to participation, community participation. Community participation, really very important aspects of urban planning and also mitigation process, involving residents in the planning process, of course, enhances the plan's applicability and reliability, and it is important during the implementation phase. And also, I told that the comprehensive urban analysis is needed, but not only the physical aspects of the area, also social aspects of the area should be learned by the planners. And also I can say that during the development of strategies, not only conservation, physical aspects of the area, the decisions developed, but also some social strategies can be developed. With the legal tools and economic aspects also can be developed during the planning phase. Okay. Not only physical, social, economic, and legal aspects, also very important for implementing the mitigation process and the plans.
Okay, thank you. So we can capture mitigation, the word mitigation is important. Oops. Question from...
Me, thank you. Well, I want to say, as our colleague said, and Sophia especially said, first step is, of course, the will of people. People must be informed because we have many reactions of people, the habitants, but some of them, maybe they don't know, and some other, they don't concern. Their concern is their house, their work, and nothing else. So we must do much work for people. But this is not enough, because, as Sophia said, sometimes we have organizations very strong that react and they ask something, but the political will is does not accept. They don't hear the organization of people. And to gain something, in Greece, we should go to the court of the state. So, Santorini, as Sophia said, all habitants, municipalities say, we cannot have more hotels. Please, let us with these hotels. But the political says no. So, this is a big problem. I think we must go to the bottom, help people, but we must go upstairs, okay, to the political will.
I would, un moment, excuse-moi, Antoine. Une seconde. We have to know that the private investors push the decision makers. This is general. As yesterday we have seen in Munich, So this is, we have to be conscious of that. And because of that, our role is also to advise the decision makers. Excuse me, Antoine.
First, I think that we have to change the models. Economic models need social and political evolution. We need to recognize the common interest and the public value of heritage and site, and we have to put in the law and to impose it too. We need some sobriety. We need to correct the consumerist tourism. We need to maintain local activities. Where are the fishermen in the vales? No more. They go on the hotel. This is really difficult. We have to change a lot of things, to meaning, to thinking, and to develop. No, develop this model is another model, I think.
More questions, or it was the last? Yeah.
But if it's not time, I will. It's okay. Thank you. I want to speak. Yeah, I want to speak about community engagement, which was really important. When I learned about urban planning in 1970s, this participation of the people was the first topic at that time. It came because there was a students' movement in Europe, and so and we always talked about this, and we didn't really know. Even I'm a sociologist. It was a topic for me. I think, as Sophia said, community engagement is really important, but it has to be, the people have to be educated and use that. The community engagement can change, and the people are not realistic or so. So I think, yeah, you have to be aware of this, but it's really important. And the problem is that the government is sometimes, or is mostly against this. The bottom-up process is a better one. So the case I presented yesterday, it's the community engagement is in favor of heritage, and the heritage organizations are always in favor of this. But only the heritage department in the city does not have to say something. They never said anything, even they are responsible for the heritage in the city. So I think if there is a community and the heritage organizations have the same ideas, they are experts, then I think it's really important. Thank you.
You really would like, yes, but very shortly.
Yes, of course. I try to be short. I would like to add to this very merit presentations, 3 presentations, excellent one, and also our discussion, some maybe important things. I would like to take your attention about the state of planning in 2005. For example, ISOCARP, it is organization in planning, they don't want to hear about preservation of heritage in planning. We have to struggle about these merits. during this time, we change our mind in planning. Today, today's life conditions and human position in this process is the main things we have to take into consideration. So all these presentations are just very important moment of our symposium. We have to notice it because I agree according to participation in planning. It's very difficult thing. It's always our duty. But first of all, we have to know, we have to live in our contemporary life, how it is changing and react also in planning. I think that now we are facing a shift of more observing the environment, from the observing the environment to intangible values. How we can to inscribe them into planning. Also something which is untouched values in surrounding areas. So values is always on the subject, the main subject, of course. Values of contemporary life also, how we perceive them.
Yes, thank you very much. It was a very important remark, and of course about intangible heritage as well. Don't forget it. We have coffee break now for 10 minutes, and we come back in 10 minutes. And thank you once again. Applauses. Thank you.